Dr. Jazz.
But I was, the main reason for the talk is like Antje connected us with regarding your new album, and man, it's what I've heard. It's killing. It's like
Thank you.
I'm a huge Dave Holland fan, so like the Conference of the Birds stuff, and that kind of more open playing, and kind of
Hmm.
reminded me of that really. What's the story
Yeah, I
behind the
guess
album? I mean,
well, let's see. I mean, I think you have to go back one album
yeah,
to my first one, which is the trio minus Jasper Blom.
yeah,
And so it's interesting that you mentioned that Dave Holland record, because now that I think about it, that's also two horns, bass, and drums, right?
yeah. Sam
I
Rivers and
forget.
Braxton. Yeah,
That's right, Sam Rivers and Braxton. Yeah, so it's been a long time since I've listened to that record, but I definitely very familiar with it, and it's an important record for me. Um, Initially, I had a trio where I wanted to have no chords, and I wanted to have it be very minimalistic and clear in terms of the compositions and open for the improvisation. So I wrote music that was just line based with no chord notation, and we did our thing. The record came out. It was received well, and we did some shows around here. And basically, Jasper, who was one of the great musicians from this country, and a very active player and community member, he approached me and expressed that he was a fan of the group and he was interested, if any way possible, to be a part of it. And so
really. Oh wow. Okay, that's quite cool. Okay.
yeah, and so he and I came up with a plan, which is that we both write some music and book some shows, and ended up with this recording, which is about 50-50 in terms of compositions from him and I, and we've been starting some album release shows. So that's sort of the origin of it. So it wasn't necessarily like let's look at that format and groups that maybe have done it and kind of like run with that. It was sort of like I had a trio. I actually really wanted trumpet. I didn't want saxophone initially because to a degree it's a little more conventional to have a
Mm,
sax trio. Also, a sax can take up a lot of space and do things that a trumpet can't do. And I wanted the space to be really clear. And so for me, trumpet was a better choice. And now,
true.
I think it's a really nice addition to have Jasper in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love
And
that.
I love the sound. But it still feels very personal and still is true to the original concept.
Hmm. Like, how do you write music? Like, let's say this Joe type tune, which like quite dance lines and traveling, or there's like some ballads like that vignette and with a beautiful melody. Like, what's your process when writing? I mean, do you write on bass or on piano? Like, do you have snippets every day that you kind of come up with, or?
Well, I say both. When I'm not always in writing mode, but if I have an idea, I'll document it and I'll store it. So if I'm like practicing and I'm just improvising, as part of my practice time, just allowing myself to freely improvise, and I come across an idea, and it sticks with me enough where I'm like, this is worth keeping. I'll record it, put it in this file of like a bunch of like little ideas,
Yeah, yeah.
and then sometimes I'll sit down with those ideas later on a piano and kind of flesh them out into a tune. Other times I'll sit at a piano if I have a really clear idea of what I'm trying to do. Then that helps. So there's some tunes that I've written where I really wanted to, let's say, do a tune like Ida or Ida Lupino by
Hmm.
Carla
Yeah.
Bley. And so I already knew that I wanted some kind of like pedal point thing with different tensions against it, and then it's a little clearer. I think if I just sat at a piano and started noodling, I don't know how successful I'd be. I'm not that capable of a pianist. But yeah, basically free improvising, storing my ideas, and sometimes like grafting them together even.
Yeah, I do
You
that.
can do whatever you want. I try to be detached from the process, and just, however I get to it, at the end, it's more important that the piece of music that sounds good or speaks to me.
Yeah, it helps a lot when you mentioned that. I do that many times. I would put on a ornette tune just to get a spark, and I'm like, oh shit, man, okay. And then obviously you like you said, Ida Lupino, or something like that. You're like, oh man, okay.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
do
I mean,
that.
like you mentioned Joe type tune. I think I was messing around with an idea. I think I was messing around with like the different notes in like a G7 altered,
Hmm.
and just seeing what kind of combinations that I could come up with, like, notes were in relation to each other intervallically, but from that scale. And I came up with a what is essentially that bass line. And then I also was like, you know what? Like, I really like that tune, Ila Quiero, or I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but it's a Joe Henderson tune. It's on State of the Tenor.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like, it's not that tune, but it's sort of in the spirit of that tune, where you just have like a very simple, repetitive type phrase, at least from the bass, or motion from the bass, and then maybe like a singable melody on top. And then you can kind of like go off from there.
Mm.
And I also, the other part of it is like tunes like Friday the 13th, a monk tune, where it's also just, it's kind of the same root motion. And I think they do Friday the 13th on State of the Tenor as well.
Yeah.
But where you just literally have like, da, 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 da. That's the whole tune. And how do you like develop that? And how can you like play 5 to 10 minutes of music or improvising just on that and not have it be boring? So I was like, this is a cool challenge. I kind of grafted those two ideas into what ended up being that tune.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. You mentioned Joe Henderson, and I mean, I mentioned Dave Holland, but who were you like? I mean, you're from Montreal, right?
Originally, yeah.
Obviously, there's a strong Canadian jazz tradition from huge list of players, but
Sure.
who inspired you to started to play bass? I mean, like, or especially diving into jazz. I mean, did you have like a aha moment that you heard? I don't know, Dave Holland, and were like, oh shit, man, I want to do that.
I'd say Ray Brown.
Really?
I'd say Ray Brown.
Interesting.
Yeah. I would say that, I mean, how did I was playing electric bass, and I needed to learn double bass to get into university, because I was in, let's say, like a college program in Montreal, what they call CEGEP in Quebec. And to get into McGill University, they didn't really take electric bass players. So I was like, well, I want to go and study jazz there, so I need to learn double bass. But I didn't necessarily have like a lot more direction than that, but I was like, I need to go and find a teacher and start learning this so I can audition on double bass.
Mm.
And I ended up, by good luck, like the first couple of people who were recommended to me were like, either they were too busy or they weren't teaching. And one of them referred me to a bass player named George Mitchell, who was active in Montreal at that time, who played with Cindy Blackman and a bunch of other great artists. And I really got lucky studying with him. And kind of the first things that he played for me were this Ray Brown record called Summer Wind. That's like, let's say, a later record with his trio with Gene Harris and Jeff Hamilton.
Mm.
And just his sound and just the expression and kind of personality that came out off that record. And so I was like, I need to like be able to do this. So that was the first thing.
Mm.
That was the very first thing.
Interesting.
That got me hooked.
And then you started to discover like who are the bass players you checked actually? I mean, did you go like through the usual path of Charlie Hayden's and Dave Holland's and everyone, or?
Over time, absolutely. I mean, I have a long list of people. I'd say, and I've thought about it quite a bit over time. But like, you know, you have Ray Brown, obviously, you have Ron Carter. You have Gary Peacock, Scott LaFaro. You have Dave Holland and Charlie Hayden. I mean, there's so many cats. I mean, I love Christian McBride when he was like coming out when I was just starting to learn, and this stuff blew me away. Larry Grenadier.
Oh yeah, sure.
I keep going. I mean, I'm a big fan of Joe Sanders and Thomas Morgan, who are more contemporary people, but who are some of my favorite people to listen to. I also had a period where I was really into like checking out, let's say, more open stuff like Mark Dresser and Mark Elias. I studied with Mark Elias for a year.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I did.
I love Mark. Yeah, we played together some. He's such a great player, man.
Yeah, he's you know, bad dude. Trying to think if I'm forgetting anybody. I'm sure I'm forgetting people like a little more like niche, like some of the other people who I studied when I was just starting to learn double bass. Leroy Vinegar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there's other people for sure. I'd say Wilbur Ware to a degree too, for sure. And I don't know. I could keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we haven't even talked about electric bass, but like, you know, there's so many voices and so many amazing personal players. Jimmy Garrison. I don't know. There's so many bags too that like guys that have mastery in, and I try to like check them all out.
Yeah, it's like it's the same with me for guitar or any instrument actually. It's just like 30 players at least you could name, and it's
Don Thompson, Canadian bass player.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot. Oh, I heard just like an amazing recording by Don Thompson and John Abercrombie. A duo.
Oh yeah.
Man,
right.
Like, whew, beautiful.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So good, man. But how did you then? I have some records by Chet Doxas on which you're on. Was he the first guy you hooked up with, or like who were the first players you started to play before actually moving to New York? And
I mean, Chet and I and his brother Jim came up together in Montreal. We went to high school together.
oh, okay.
And their father was the director of our music program, George Doxas. So, I mean, I owe a lot to him for turning me on to music, too. That's where I first started playing electric bass, like the jazz band. And then, you know, I'd start going over to their house and jamming with Jim and later with Chet, too. And eventually, as we went through music programs in college and university, we put a band together and put out 2 records. The band was called Byproduct. And we had a regular gig in Montreal that was like super valuable for us because we really developed a rapport together and had a chance to like stretch out. And that's actually the first place that I met Binney, because Binney would come to Montreal and he would, you know, connect with people he already knew there. And then I forget how it happened, but basically he ended up coming to our gig and, you know, playing a show with us and sitting in with us.
Okay.
And that also blew me away. He was kind of doing stuff at the time with like a Dr. Sample that he was like using live, and I was just like, wow, this is so cool. And yeah, so I've known Dave since like the late 90s, like
already,
maybe
wow.
98, 99.
Okay.
And like I said, I've known Chet and his brother Jim, you know, since we were teenagers.
Yeah, I mean, Dave is so important. I think still quite underrated in a sense because you know he was always inviting younger guys beside having, you know, the group with Potter and all Brian
Sure.
Blaine. But you know, he played with you and you know Thomas Morgan and Jacob Sachs and all these guys, Dan Weiss. And that's so important. I think we it's often overlooked, like the 55 bar thing, and in
Oh
Europe,
man,
like,
no, it was so
you know,
important for me to go
yeah,
hear those guys play. When I moved to New York, that was my favorite place and my
yeah,
favorite
it's
band
such a place,
here.
man. Yeah.
Loved it, man.
How did you decide to go to New York, by the way? Or, like,
I mean, I was in Montreal, and Montreal's only like a 5 to 6 hour drive.
yeah,
So let's say the pull and the accessibility was pretty strong for me, and it was always kind of on my radar that like New York was like, if you really wanted to like go for something and dare to try to be the best that you could be, you kind of needed to go there. That was the idea I had in my mind. So I think there were some other musicians who I looked up to when I was in my undergrad, some Canadian musicians who had gone to Manhattan School and either spent some time there after or came back, but still, went down there and, they were the best musicians that I knew of in Montreal. And so I was sort of like, I want to do that too. And that's essentially, I was sort of like, let me go there, let me try and go there and study. I'll get a degree and I'll get to spend a year there after, with my OPT status, as it's called.
mm,
And then see if I'm like, am I making it or am I struggling? And at least take it from there. But, for 2 years, I'd be studying, I'd have some structure, some stability, some instant community. And, I ended up staying there for 11 years.
well, was it heavy for you after you graduating? I mean, who were the people you hooked up with? Obviously, the amount of players, bass players, it's insane in New York or on any instrument. But how was it like for you? Who were the first gigs you got actually, or becoming part of?
Honestly, I think one of the first gigs that I got was at 55 Bar. I think it was with a guitarist named Isla Cantor, and I'm not sure how she found me, or maybe we like knew each other kind of peripherally from also going to stuff at 55 Bar or through mutual friends, but somehow she had a show there. Maybe I think we played duo.
Oh well.
But I remember being so excited, like telling my roommates, like, guys, I'm like, go play 55 Bar, and subsequently that became like this, I'd say my home as far as clubs go in that city. That's like pretty much the only place that I felt I could just show up, say what's up to the door people. We all were on a first name basis and like feel like that was a place that I had community with. But sorry, I'm not sure if I answered your question completely.
Yeah, sure. No, no, no. For me, it's just always an interesting question. Like, I remember I spoke to Drew Grass once, and he said, like, obviously when he came to New York in mid '80s, and he got a gig by someone, and that guy wrote Drew's name, in his little black book, and Drew wrote his contacts, and above him there was like Mark Johnson, Eddie Gomez, and it's just like for
Right.
me, it's always interesting, when you come to New York, how do you make it? How do you connect? That's what it's
Yeah.
always like the question for me. Like,
Excuse me. Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, look, for me, making it was that I was able to like pay my rent
yeah,
and
that's
eat
huge.
and play with the musicians that I love to play with or hope to play with, and then maybe do some cool stuff, like maybe go on a tour. That was making it for me, basically. And I
When
mean, I
did you,
had a peer. Oh, go ahead.
who did you go on tour with? The first tour, you remember? Like going to Europe or the
I mean,
States?
I think maybe like one of the highlights, which came pretty quickly after I graduated. So I went there in 2005, graduated in 2007. And just as like an aside, there was a group of friends at Manhattan School of Music that I was in a band with, and the band was called The Story, and it had some great players. They're still great players. They're all doing different things now. an alto player named Lars Dietrich, tenor player named Samir Zarif, John Estreet, the pianist, and Greg Ritchie, the drummer, also a Canadian and someone I went to McGill with in Montreal. And we had a band for about like 2.5 years, and we were really like making quite a big push, and we were getting some momentum, and I was very invested in that band. So let's say that was like coming out of school with those people. That was like where my main focus was, because things were happening, and it was very exciting. Like we had a really incredible rapport together, and the compositions were really exciting and interesting. So that's kind of where I positioned myself. I wasn't necessarily just like an individual out there being a super sideband for people or something like that, or somebody that everybody wanted me in their band. I think I was more doing that, and that was my circle. So anyways, around 2008, while that was still happening, John Estreet was also making his first record, and he had a tour. And from my connections in Montreal, I knew Christine Jensen and to a degree Ingrid Jensen. And so I think the first big tour that I did was it was 3 weeks in Mexico with Ingrid and Christine, where we did it was easily one of the largest and best tours that I've done, where we went all over the country for, I think it was, I forget the name of the festival, but it's literally like a nationwide festival where groups tour through the whole country. Oh. So we were there for 3 weeks, and now I forget the order, but basically John had a tour in Europe, and Matt Brewer, who did the record, he wasn't available. John asked me to do it. So I think John's thing came first. Anyway, so I went to Europe with John's band, which was Ambrose Akinusere and Ty Chansori and Binney and John and myself. So, obviously that was a thrill, and went directly from there to Mexico. Just literally finished that tour, flew to Mexico, and did 3 weeks there. So that was this is good. This is going really good. And, it's still a highlight for me that I got to do that stuff.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, 3 weeks tour, man, those were the days.
Yeah, amazing, I mean, to be 100% honest, I'm cool. I don't need to do a 3 week tour right now.
Yeah.
I took my band to Canada last November. We did 10 days, and that was great.
Yeah.
I have kids, and I don't want to be away for 3 weeks.
I hear you, man. Yeah, I have a 3-year-old daughter. I'm the same. It's just a week already for me. It's okay. It's a lot. Yeah.
You miss them, and there's just other things that need to be taken care of too.
Absolutely. Did you already start leading bands in New York as well? Or
No.
when does the band leading aspect come for you? Only when you move to Holland, or because you did that Ancestry project, right?
That's my first, excuse me, my first foray as a leader. And that was a direct kind of reaction to when the band I was telling you about, the story, when that band broke up, I was sort of oh man, what am I going to do now? Because I had invested a lot of time and energy into that project, which meant I wasn't really playing with this person and that person and this person and that person. And I was what am I going to do? Or how am I going to keep working? And who am I going to play with regularly? And so through, necessity is the mother of invention. And I was just I remember just sitting on the couch one day in my apartment with not too many gigs, and just be better write some music. And, I had some ideas already, but they were just kind of floating around in my head and not really something I was actively doing. I was like, well, maybe it's time to like flesh out this idea and interview my grandfather and put this music together. So yeah, that would have been around like 2010, 2011.
Already? Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah. And that was really fun and really cool. I like, learned how to DJ at the same time.
Yeah, I saw that. It's turntables, yeah, and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
And it was a big production, and we got to present it quite a few times in New York.
But you
Jazz
didn't record
Gallery.
it, right? You never recorded it to release it.
It's not in the studio. No.
Okay.
I have live recordings, but we have yet to make a studio record. It's something I'm thinking about for the future.
Yeah.
And I might like to present a 2.0 version of it too, where I have maybe a more capable DJ take over that job, because it was really like,
That's a lot, yeah.
it was like trying to juggle and like spin plates on my head and jump up and down at the same time, running like the video, turntables, double bass, electric bass, band leading, and all of the like setup and breakdown. At a certain point, I was like, "This is too much of a production for me to keep trying to do." So I'm thinking about ways in the future where I can have some of these tasks be handled by other people, and have it be a little less of a circus show for me.
Yeah.
But it's something I'm proud of for sure.
Oh man, the band is killing. Like just. Like,
Yeah.
Whew,
Yeah, I've had some really fantastic musicians play that music, and I feel very lucky about that.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about also, I read on your website, I didn't find any footage that you played with Henry Threadgill. Like, were you a member of his band, or like, what was that? Or
it was, he wrote a piece for, let's say, an expanded version of his Zooid ensemble. And yeah, the piece was called Dimples. It's called Dimples. And there was a premiere concert, excuse me, at Roulette. And we rehearsed quite a lot for it. And a friend of mine, Curtis McDonald, recommended me for that. And I'm super grateful for that opportunity that could have happened. And yeah, I was just kind of like dove into trying to understand his concept and his methodology to conducting and composition and improvisation. So we did this one concert, and it was very exciting. And I think I was just talking about it the other day with Jasper and some of the other musicians from the band. But like, I was like really anxious about it to a degree, because it was not. It's not like I necessarily grew up checking out his music particularly. I've studied and dove into different types of playing, but his thing is really uniquely his.
Unique, yeah.
And my only wish was that I would do as good of a job as I could do for his music. And anyways, all I have to say is that we did this concert. I still have the score.
Oh wow!
But the ensemble was kind of too big to like take on tour, and so it's kind of just existed only in that one performance.
Is there some footage of it or something like that? No, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, sure.
I haven't. I've trust me. I've looked for it online, but I haven't come across it. Maybe he has it archived, but I'd love to see it or hear it.
Yeah, I'm such a huge Threadgill fan. I mean, it's just so unique. I've spoken with Liberty Alman, and he said, like, it took him years just to get comfortable within the impros.
Okay, well, I feel a bit better about that.
To understand it, and he's a monster, Liberty, and just like.
I think I had like 2 or 3 months to like figure out what to do. But I'm reading his book right now. I'm really enjoying it.
Really? Oh, I have to check it out. Okay.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Is
Yeah.
it a new one or
It's been out for a couple of years.
really?
It's
I'll try
called,
to search for it.
yeah,
Write it down.
it's Easily Slip into
I'll try
Another
to find it.
World, I think is the name of the title.
Okay, I'll try to find it. I love it. Yeah. Zach, what's still on the schedule for you for this year? I mean, the upcoming weeks or months. Are you gonna present the new album, or are you coming to
Yeah.
our parts of Europe, like some
Oh,
near
I would love to.
Austria,
Not right
Germany?
now. Maybe in the future. I guess I'll have to send out some emails to people out there. I really have no idea, where and who to speak to about most other countries. I'm still getting familiar here, but within the Netherlands, we're presenting the album release. We did let's say, a pre-release show at the Bin House last
Okay.
week. On the 4th, we're playing in Rotterdam at Lantern Fenster
Oh,
on the
beautiful.
13th.
I love that place.
Yeah, and playing at the Tivoli here on October 3rd. That's the official release date. And so we have shows in the Netherlands, and the goal is maybe to build out from there in the future. We do have one show in Brugge in Belgium,
Okay. Wow. Nice.
so that'll be, and we've played in Germany in the past, but not
Yeah.
necessarily with this formation. So yeah, I'd love to get the band out there
On the
wherever
road,
I can.
Yeah. Was it easy for you to kind of start playing in Holland? I mean, there's so many places in Holland, but what's the scene right now there?
I'd say it was like slightly easier for me because I've been coming to the Netherlands since 2007, 2006, 2007, because one of the members of the story, Lars Dietrich, is Dutch, and he brought us over,
Okay.
and I started to make friends with some of the musicians that are here on the scene. I think probably some people like Jasper I've probably known in some capacity since that period from coming here. And then also my wife, who worked and studied as a musician in the Netherlands before switching to being an economist. Through her, I met many musicians as well. And so when I moved here, I wasn't a stranger to people.
Okay, that's important.
And that was definitely an advantage, although it was then COVID immediately after I got here. So unfortunately, that kind of put things on ice for a good 1.5 to 2 years.
Yeah.
But luckily, things have been good post-COVID.
Yeah, okay, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Fantastic. Cool, man.